So, what the H is going on in this market right now? Let's talk about Tesla, China and the SEC, Putin and his rubles. And let's start, first of all, before all that, with the United States putting out a PR notice saying that they're considering releasing 180 million barrels from the SPR. Now, the SPR is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve of the United States. It's intended for emergencies, hurricanes, wars, when you really need oil and you can't get it elsewhere. That is not an emergency. Lowering prices does not really qualify as an emergency, but this administration did it before. In fact, twice, releasing 30 million, releasing 50 million. So now they're basically saying, well, the first two times this thing has completely failed, oil prices didn't drop, so let's do it again. This is like Homer Simpson level of logic. Not to mention the fact that you're really screwing with the risk management because, look, beyond the fact that 180 million barrels is going to be the biggest released in the history of the SPR, the problem is that the SPR is already kind of dwindled down. It's right now at 568 million barrels, the lowest it's been since 2002. So we're already at the lowest level in the past 20 years of reserves of oil. And now we're going to take 1/3 of that and release it, not because of emergency, because of a political need to reduce prices. Because the plan is, if you haven't noticed, is to release 180 million barrels over 6 months, which means 1 million a barrel all the way until midterms. That's a nice coincidence, isn't it? Political shenanigans instead of emergencies, and that's how you fuck with the oil reserves of the United States. That's great. Now, look, whether you agree or you disagree, the question is, will this thing be effective? Now, fuck the political argument. Let's say that it's right, that it's wrong, it doesn't matter. The question is, will losing these reserves will give us lower gas prices in the United States? Now, we're talking about 1% of the world's global daily consumption of oil. Now, historically speaking, releases of SPR oil had impact, but very minimal and very short-lived. It's like going on a crazy diet for 2 weeks. You lose some weight, but then you gain everything back and some in a month. So basically, every time this happens, prices drop like today, but then over the long term, the market prices in. The fact is that the problem was not solved. This is not a solution. This is a band-aid. So eventually the market prices back in, the supply chain shortages, and the prices climb back up, and we just lost 1/3 of our reserves. That's great. Now, I do want to point out the fact that the United States may be doing this just for the just for the head fake. Because look, all you need sometimes is for people to think that you're about to do something to get the desired results. If the US is saying, hey guys, we're going to release so much oil, we're going to flood the market with oil, what happens? The prices drop. If the prices drop, then maybe you don't have to go back and actually do the thing that you just threatened to do. Interesting. So if that's a political ploy, like a political head fake, sure, why not? If they actually release it, oof, my goodness. Anyways, that's my 2 cents about that. Do want to give you an update about Tesla. Tesla has notified that they're shutting down the factory in Shanghai all the way through Friday. So the crunch of the end of quarter is pretty much screwed for Tesla, and it's not going to have huge impact on their numbers globally annually, but it's not a good thing. It actually kind of chips away the theory that China is not going to go to full lockdowns because they have a way of keeping things going even in COVID restrictions, like people sleeping in the factories, bubbles and whatnot. So if Tesla is shutting down, that's not a good sign. But we have to wait and see because this is just a 1 week delay. Let's wait and see how this develops before we decide. Now, what's interesting is that Putin seems to be losing his game of chicken with the EU, it seems. So about a week ago, Vladimir Putin came out and said, hey, dear EU, we would love to keep selling you our gas, but from now on, you're going to pay us in rubles. Yes, this currency nobody wants or cares about. You're going to pay us in that currency. And essentially, this was a shot at the dollar and at the euro. Basically, when you create a demand for a currency to buy commodities or energy, you devalue and weaken the currencies that are no longer used. And I had a whole video about that, about how the dollar is the world's reserve currency because of the petrodollars. Now, I initially said, in multiple times, including on my show with Justin O called Money Talks, I said that I think it's a game of chicken because I don't think Putin can't afford to fuck with this money. As much as the Europeans need the gas to survive, Putin needs their money to survive as well because the US froze his war chest. So it seems like a very weird game of chicken where no party can afford to lose. Now, surprisingly enough, the dude cracked first. So reports are coming out from Russia that Putin now offering a compromise after the EU basically said, hey, fuck you, we're not going to pay you in freaking rubles, are you crazy? We have a contract. So he could either breach the contract or he could basically back down. And this is exactly what's going on. So he offered the compromise, and check out this compromise. Hey, you pay us in euros, right? Pay us in euros, and then when we get the money, we will convert it to rubles for you. So the Europeans are like looking at each other like, what did she just offer? What? Sure, go right ahead, convert it to rubles. So basically the Europeans will pay the Russian bank in euros, and the Russian bank will convert it to rubles for them and will purchase the commodities. I mean, it's a bluff that was called by the EU, and this compromise is probably one of the funniest I've heard. Now, before I sign out, very important update. Gary Gensler, the SEC, both came out and let everybody know, hey, you better cool these things with China. I mean, we ain't got no deal yet. We're still in the position where Chinese companies will be delisted at the end of 2020, 21, 20, I think 2023. So it's 3 years, and the law was implemented at the end of 2020. So I'm thinking 3 years, end of 2023. So he basically said, hey, nothing changed. We're happy to see that the Chinese government is willing to invest time and resources and energy into working out this problem. But so far, there's no progress. And until we get to review and audit these Chinese companies, they're going to get it delisted. I mean, we're not going to budge on this at all. So he's basically saying, hey, this whole thing from China is just a PR stunt. We haven't seen anything on the ground yet. And you better be careful with these things because the Chinese have started this idea of basically pumping their stocks by issuing these PR notices that basically mean nothing. I just want to kind of point out that the last time that we heard this, they basically said, hey, we promise to stop being evil real soon. And we will work with the US to find a way to resolve this compliance problem. Now, look, I don't buy any of this Chinese propaganda, and I don't take their word for it because they've proven again and again that they're not going to keep their word. Now, the biggest problem for me is for people who claim, well, Tom, Chinese companies are being audited by the Big Four, which means KPMG, PwC, and Deloitte. And if they say that they're compliant with US GAAP, I mean, these are Big Four companies. Obviously, they are. Well, if they are, sure. If they are compliant, why do they refuse to let the actual regulator of the US GAAP to review their compliance? If you're so compliant, what's the problem? Whenever somebody says, hey, I'm good, but you can't search me. Imagine if you're a cop, right? Somebody says, hey, I don't have any guns on me, but don't search me. I don't agree for a search. I mean, obviously, you're within your right to do that, but I'm within my right to be skeptical of, what you have on you, so to speak. So, not trusting the Chinese on this. And again, this has nothing to do with Chinese people, the Chinese culture. I love China, and I absolutely have no issues with any of my Chinese friends. My issue is with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and how I think they're trying to play a fast one on US investors. Just my opinion. Hey, sorry I couldn't make a whole video today. I'm dealing with some stuff. As you noticed, I haven't been on for the past 30 days. Still dealing with stuff, but wanted to jump on and kind of give you a quick update. Also, we have some big news about Money Talks, which we will post today. So watch today's Money Talks. We have a big update, which I think you guys will really like. We're going to cut this minute just 10 seconds short before the 10 minutes so we don't have extra ads.